Highway miles are harder on vinyl than city driving. That's the thing most people don't realize until they've already got a chip on the front bumper and they're wondering where it came from. So let's talk about it. If you've got a wrapped vehicle in Bowling Green and you're planning any kind of summer driving, a run up to Mammoth Cave, a weekend on the Cumberland Parkway, a work route that takes you out past Glasgow or Franklin, the miles you put on this season do more to your film than a whole month of running errands around town. And it's worth understanding why, because once you know what's actually happening out there, protecting against it gets pretty simple. Here's the basic problem. When you're sitting at 70 on I-65, everything hitting your vehicle is hitting it hard. Loose gravel that would just tumble harmlessly across a parking lot becomes a projectile. Bugs don't just land on the front end, they hit it at speed, and they bake onto hot film long before you're back in the driveway. Sustained speed changes the math on everything. And right now, that matters more than usual because summer travel out of Warren County points straight at cave country. Mammoth Cave sits right at the top of the list of closest national parks to Bowling Green, and it's a short run north on I-65. Easy drive. Genuinely one of the best things about living here. But think about what that trip actually asks of your vehicle. You've got highway speed on the way up, then the last few miles of two-lane road, then gravel overflow parking because the main lot fills up. And then your vehicle sits in an unshaded lot in all-day sun while you're underground having a great time. That's 4 different kinds of stress in one afternoon. Now here's what's useful to know. Wrap damage from travel isn't random. It concentrates in 4 predictable places. Once you know which ones, you know exactly where to look and exactly what's worth protecting. Number 1 is the lower bumper and front fascia. That's where gravel, road debris, and sand hit. It shows up as pitting, small chips, and cloudy patches in the film. Number 2 is the hood edge and the mirror caps. Stone strikes and insect impacts. You'll see nicks that start small and widen out, and a finish that just looks duller than it used to. Number 3 is the rocker panels behind the wheels. That's tire spray, tar, and grit getting flung back along the side of the vehicle. It shows up as staining and edges that start to lift. And number 4, which surprises people, is door handles and handle cups. That's not road damage at all. That's fingernails, sunscreen, and bug spray. Scuffs and discoloration right around the recesses where hands go. So why do edges give out before flat panels do? Because vinyl is strongest across a flat surface and weakest anywhere it wraps around a lip. Think about it, on a flat panel the film is fully supported, evenly adhered, nothing to grab. But at an edge there's a seam. There's a termination point. And if grit gets under a lifted edge at 70 miles an hour, it works exactly like sandpaper. Constantly. For the entire drive. That's why a chip on a bumper corner isn't just cosmetic. Left alone through a summer of trips, that little chip becomes a peeling seam. And a peeling seam becomes a panel replacement. The failure is progressive, and highway miles are what drive it forward. So what do you do about it? The single most useful thing for a wrapped vehicle racking up highway miles is putting a sacrificial layer over the impact zones. Clear film over the bumper, the hood edge, and the mirrors. It absorbs the strikes so the vinyl underneath stays intact. Something's going to take that damage. You just want it to be a layer you can replace instead of the wrap you paid for. And if the whole vehicle is already wrapped and you only want the vulnerable areas reinforced, targeted coverage is usually the cheaper path by a long way. You're protecting maybe 15% of the surface that takes nearly all of the abuse. That's a good ratio. One honest caveat. You can do this after a chip appears, it's not too late, and people do it all the time. But it's less clean. Film goes over damage, it doesn't undo it. So if you're going to do it, doing it before the trip is the version that actually works the way you want. Let's talk about bugs and tar, because timing matters here more than technique. Insect residue is acidic, and it's sitting on a panel that's been over 130 degrees in the sun all day. Give that a week and you're not dealing with dirt anymore, you're dealing with etching. Etching is a permanent change to the surface. Dirt comes off, etching doesn't. So get it off within a day or two. Soak the area with warm water and a wrap-safe cleaner. Let it sit, actually let it sit, don't rush this part. Then wipe with light pressure. Scrubbing dry residue is how people put swirl marks into satin and matte finishes, and once those are in there, they're hard to hide. Tar's a different animal. If you've been on fresh chip seal out on rural Warren County roads, you've probably got some. That responds to a dedicated tar remover, not to elbow grease. And test it on a hidden spot near the door jamb first. Always. Takes 10 seconds and it saved a lot of people a lot of grief. Now, sun exposure. This is the one that's easy to underestimate because it doesn't announce itself. An unshaded lot at a park or a lake is a harder UV environment than your driveway, and the reason is simple. The vehicle bakes for 6 or 8 hours without moving. No shade rotating across it, no relief. Horizontal panels take the worst of it, which is why roofs and hoods fade before doors do. Gravity doesn't care, but sun angle does. Finish choice plays into this. Gloss laminates handle repeated heat cycling with fewer visible changes. Matte and satin need more disciplined cleaning to keep an even appearance, because uneven cleaning shows up more on those finishes. Neither one is wrong, but if you're still deciding on a look and you know the vehicle's going to live outside all summer, that trade-off is worth raising when you plan a color change. It's a lot easier to pick a finish around your parking situation than to fight the finish later. If your vehicle is also your business, this stops being about looks. Contractors and service crews running between Bowling Green, Glasgow, Franklin, and Elizabethtown put on serious mileage during travel season. And a faded or chipped panel on a graphics wrap reads as neglect to the customer standing in their driveway watching you pull up. Fair or not, that's the read. So for work vehicles carrying branding, protecting the lower front end is a maintenance decision, not a cosmetic one. Legible logos and clean color, that's the whole point of the investment. If those go, the wrap isn't doing its job anymore. And if you're running several trucks, a standardized approach usually gets you better mileage. Every unit in a fleet gets the same protection package and the same replacement schedule. It makes budgeting predictable, and it keeps the vehicles matching, which matters more than people think. All right, here's a 5-minute check to do when you get home. Before you unload, before you go inside, just walk the vehicle. Damage is easiest to fix while it's still small. Run a fingertip along the bumper corners and the wheel arch edges, feeling for any lifted lip. Your finger will catch it before your eye sees it. Check the hood edge and the mirror caps for chips that go down to the paint. Look for bug residue that survived the drive and rinse it off the same day. Inspect the rocker panels for tar spots and dark streaking. And note any spot where the film looks lighter or chalky compared to the panel right next to it. Comparing to the neighboring panel is the trick. Fading is gradual, so you'll never notice it looking at one panel alone. Here's the payoff on all of that. A lifted edge caught this week is a quick reseal. The same edge after 2 more trips is a panel replacement. Same problem, wildly different bill. One last thought. Somebody who commutes across town and parks in a garage has completely different needs than somebody hauling a camper down the Cumberland Parkway most weekends. Material choice, laminate coverage, all of that should reflect how you actually drive, not how a wrap looks in a photo. That's why when we quote a full custom build, mileage and parking habits are among the first things we ask about. It changes the recommendation more than the design does. So if your vehicle's heading out on Kentucky highways this month, give us a shout. We're Car Wrap Bowling Green, right there on the 31W bypass, and you can reach us at 270-817-6497. We can usually take a look at a vehicle the same week, So if you've got a trip coming up, there's still time to get ahead of it. Drive safe out there.